After the first round of wage negotiations, unions are already accusing Eskom of negotiating in bad faith. The National Union of Mine Workers, the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa and Solidarity are asking for a 15% pay increase. Eskom, however, is offering 3.75%. To discuss this further, we're joined by Phakamile Hlubi-Majola from Numsa, and we'll also be joined by who is the chief negotiator there. Thanks so much for your time, Phakamile. Let's just start off with the offer by Eskom of 3.75%. It's nowhere near inflation, and you, as Numsa, you're asking for 15%.
Good afternoon, Heidi, and good afternoon to your viewers, and thank you for having me on the show. Yes, we are asking for a 15% increase. We're also asking for a 2-year agreement in order to guarantee stability at Eskom. We believe that the 15% wage demand that we're making is definitely reasonable. It's definitely affordable. We reject Eskom's offer of 3.75%, especially because it's way below inflation. And for us, the justification that we have for asking for 15% or a double-digit increase is simply because workers at Eskom have been denied meaningful increases. If you look at the wages and the benefits of workers since 2016-2017, it has remained flat. It has not changed. It has remained at not more than 33 billion. So we believe that Eskom can definitely afford to fund these increases, and this is why we're making the demands that we're making.
Okay, we actually are also joined by NUM's chief negotiator, Olehile Kgware, who is from the National Union of Mine Workers. Thank you so much for your time. Maybe just tell us why you have demanded 15% wage increase from Eskom for this year.
Yes, look, like we had indicated previously, our 15% wage increase is informed by factors that are, we know that the inflation rate at this stage has even go far below people's needs. The economic crisis that we find ourselves in dictates that for human beings and workers in particular to continue to provide for their families, they will need to have a certain income. So to keep up and maintain their current income, they really need the 15%.
Phakamile, let's bring you back in here. I just want to get a sense. I do understand that it is, of course, round 1 of wage talks, so it's still very early. You still have 2 rounds to get through. But how have the first round of wage talks gone? Because this is obviously a very critical time, a very sensitive time. We do know that wage negotiations are always robust in nature. But yesterday, during your press briefing, there was an indication that Eskom had come unprepared.
Well, yes, and we've made that perfectly clear that we need a...
Yes, Phakamile, you can go ahead. Yes, you can go ahead, Phakamile.
Okay. We think that Eskom was completely unprepared. In fact, we would say that if you look at our power crisis today, where we find ourselves at, critical levels as far as load shedding, we shouldn't be surprised that we're here, because you have an Eskom negotiating team that doesn't even take these talks seriously. They demonstrated this week when they arrived to negotiations completely unprepared. They did not have a presentation which we could all engage on. They were speaking from notes. To make matters worse, Thulani Ngele, who is the head of people relations at Eskom, behaved appallingly. He was sarcastic, he was rude, he was obnoxious. At some point, the chair of the negotiations had to intervene because of his behavior. And so we really have said in our press conference yesterday, Heidi, that we're calling on the Eskom board to take this issue of particularly the behavior of Thulani Ngele seriously, because this man is not a person who's going to assist us to resolve any kind of deadlock, if we should deadlock, because we have not deadlocked yet, but he's certainly not assisting us to make meaningful progress in these talks. He's got the wrong attitude. He's a person who's stirring up anger, if I can put it like that. He's very provocative. And that is not the kind of person that should be engaging in such crucial talks on behalf of a state-owned entity. Last year, if you recall, workers picketed, and their picket exacerbated the load shedding that was taking place at the time. And Thulani's attitude is almost like he doesn't care if such an eventuality should occur. It shows you that these are people who, I suppose they're untouched by load shedding. I don't know, which is why they can come to negotiations with such an attitude. But they need to get serious, because this is not some mom and pop company. This is a state-owned entity. There are taxpayers who are funding this entity. Workers at Eskom are expecting an outcome. We are going there prepared. We are serious. We want to ensure that we don't want a repetition of last year. And we really need the Eskom management to take this process with the seriousness that it deserves.
Certainly, and Mr. Kgware, maybe you can come in now and speak about the engagement that you've had so far with Eskom, and how important is it for Eskom to be in a position to, engage and discuss, properly when it comes to wage talks, because you've also indicated that they just put 3.75 on the table with no proper evidence to substantiate, to say this is what our financials look like. We're actually not in a position, or we are giving you 3.75% because of reasons A, B, and C.
Yes, look, we must indicate from point of view that as unions, particularly NUM as well, we get into these negotiations mindful that the crises at Eskom are not Eskom crises, are basically a community and the country's problem. We are mindful that it is about the economy of the country that is shrinking. It is about livelihood of our own kids and their futures. We therefore enter into these negotiations mindful of that, as one to demonstrate high level.
Okay. Okay, unfortunately, we've lost Olehile from Num, but Phakamile, maybe I can pose one last question to you. What happens now? I do know that round one was done, but obviously you still have round two and round three. And I ask this in the context of South Africans are watching this. We saw what happened last year when those wage talks ended up in a deadlock, and workers decided to picket. It further exacerbated the already serious stages of load shedding. And of course, nobody wants it to reach that point. But already from round one, your engagement with round one of wage talks, how do you think round two and three will look like? And when are we expecting wage talks to end?
Well, look, the next round is going to be early May. Around the 8th of May will be when we begin the second round. The manner in which these talks are going to go will be determined by the behavior and the seriousness of all parties. Labour has made it very clear that we want to settle this. We want, as I said, a multi-year agreement because we are looking for stability. And the question is, does Eskom and Eskom management want stability? And if they do, then they will approach these talks in a different manner to which they approached them this week. The other thing that I think I want to just sort of add to, in terms of the question that you raised to my comrade from NUM, is on the issue of the demand that we're making versus the offer that Eskom is putting on the table. We are not going to accept an explanation from Eskom where they claim that they can't accept a meaningful increase. When Eskom is able to pay exorbitant increases for diesel, for coal, for IPPs, those costs have gone up astronomically year on year, sometimes by more than 15%. And yet workers' salaries have remained the same since 2016, 2017. Workers are looking for something that is going to help them pay their bills, help them take their kids to school, pay medical aid, just in order for them to survive. Because as I speak to you now, Heidi, the majority of workers at Eskom are really struggling. Their benefits and conditions have been slashed so that these private contracts, which are riddled with corruption, are enabled. There is no intervention, either from government, from the board, from government even as shareholder, to intervene in these extreme escalating costs. The primary cost of energy, for example, have gone up from 86 billion to 131 billion, and yet workers' wages have remained at 33 billion. So we're not prepared to listen to any excuses about how they can't afford. They demonstrate year upon year that they can afford these dodgy, inflated contracts. Workers want a meaningful increase, and if this government is serious about ensuring that we resolve these talks, and we do so amicably, they will put a proper offer on the table.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, and we will, of course, be monitoring this very closely. That was Phakamile Hlubi-Majola from Numsa, and earlier we did have Olehile Kgware from the National Union of Mine Workers. He was obviously affected by load shedding.